So markets are currently trading sideways. We're seeing a little bit of a dip around Bitcoin and Ethereum for the 24-hour, which we were anticipating based off of specific zones and overall if we were going to be breaking or holding. And this is where a lot of people aren't anticipating the, small pullbacks. And this is where also a lot of individuals are saying that you should be expecting pullbacks and also potential corrections whenever we start to see everything run up real crazy. Everyone's still calling for altcoin season, and overall the Fed is going to be making a decision around rate cuts in the next 2 weeks, which is also going to be causing volatility in the markets. But a lot of people are also looking at the price action around Bitcoin and how it compares to previous cycles whenever we peaked out and whenever we topped. And this is why we have a whole bunch of people shorting the market, talking about how we've already peaked out and everything's going to get crazy, bear market's upon us. A lot of different perspectives. Of course, altcoin season is going to be happening, but I want to walk you through the perspectives around these deviations, what you should be expecting moving into the end of October and moving into November, and overall what to anticipate. If you're new to my channel, check out the rest of my content. Keep you guys updated on the day-to-day events, price action around Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, how liquidity is shifting, best altcoins to be investing in, and everything else in between. We have key news, events, and data that comes out every single week, but honestly, it's getting to the point where the government shutdown has already taken place, and a lot of people aren't even looking at these things. They're going to be looking at it the moment that everything hits the fan, and then we start to see potential crazy deviations. But overall, right now, everything is still looking green. I want to walk through the price action, why everything deviated, and why a lot of people are saying that we could potentially already be peaking out for Bitcoin. So with all that being said, let's go and jump straight into it. So as I said, guys, for the 24-hour, we have been seeing deviations for Bitcoin, some excessive deviations, and this is where a lot of people are anticipating what's going to be happening next. KillXBT is someone that has been keeping us updated with the day-to-day price action, specific liquidity zones, and where we're headed. And honestly, we were expecting deviations if we couldn't hold specific zones and overall weekly openings based off of FVG zones, fair value gaps, guys, areas of liquidity. That's all you really need to know. But overall, we couldn't hold, and that's why we're seeing some deviations right now. And a few investors are expecting that we are going to be seeing just a little bit more if we can't hold where we currently are at. And same thing goes for Ethereum. Right now, we were pumping quite excessively in the last 48 hours, 72 hours, and now within the last 24 hours, we're starting to see a little bit of a correction and a pullback, and everyone's anticipating if this is going to still continue. This is, of course, affecting altcoins after altcoins have been having a decent rally as well, and slowly have been seeing a little bit of a squeeze in liquidity. Bitcoin dominance has been on a gradual increase, and this is something that we've been anticipating with the new higher lows and higher highs that Bitcoin dominance has been putting in the last few weeks. So right now, this is really crazy to start looking at. Everyone wasn't anticipating a little bit of a correction, but if you keep up with the day-to-day price action, you were expecting that more likely we're going to be seeing a little bit of a cool off, and that is currently what took place today. Volatility is going through the roof, mainly due to the fact that there's a lot of uncertainty. Gold is shooting through the roof. Risk assets are starting to be the spotlight of everything. And this is where everyone's wondering what's going to be happening next. Is Bitcoin going to rally? Is everything going to be dumping? We talked about it multiple different times in yesterday's video, but KillXBT kind of sums it up for us right here. Currently trading below the weekly opening in terms of a high time frame area. The only strong confluence zone sits at 119.5K to 117K. We are testing some low time frame areas, but they do not hold much confluence below weekly open equals bearish. So this is where a lot of people are anticipating if we can hold these regions or if we're going to be deviating. Right now, we are starting to deviate. We are looking at the heat map, looking at specific areas of liquidity where we were touching, and also what to expect moving into later in the week. Now, you can see that, the price action around Bitcoin in the last, few hours hasn't been looking too hot. And this goes into a little bit more of the perspective. Never be too quick to catching a falling knife, especially after rejecting external range supply. Feels up to him. He says he would run it below 120K to create panic, then reverse. He says just his thoughts. But this is where it kind of gives a few people perspective as to when to position yourself and what to expect as the week progresses. This is super important, but most people don't look at the macro lens around the price action around Bitcoin. They only, look at exactly what's happening, and then they just call for altcoin season and think everything is just going to pop off, and then we still see corrections. Now, this was one of the great posts that I saw from KillXBT talking about previous tops for Bitcoin. And whenever we started to see a correction, and this kind of goes back into 2013, 2017, and 2021, and what we saw in October, November, and December. So in 2013, October up, November up, then December dump. 2017, October up, November up, December dump. 2021, October up, November dump, December dump. So do we top in October or late Q4? Hopefully this puts into a little bit of perspective why he's bearish and why multiple people are also bearish and are being cautious right now. And on my channel, I've been getting a lot of hate because, I'm not being one of the, bull altcoin season preachers that are telling you guys that everything is just going to pop off already. And it's mainly due to the fact that previous price action goes another direction. It's saying something completely different. So this is where I think a lot of people are throwing crazy valuations. There's a lot of hype with CZ and everyone else in the markets that are, trying to make plays and doing different things. And this is causing, a lot of people to gravitate towards, incorrect information. So I'm really curious on if this is going to be happening, if we start to see, Bitcoin top out in October or late Q4. More than likely, I think it's going to be happening in late Q4. But at the end of the day, no one truly knows. We have to base it off of previous price action and what we're seeing right now. And believe me, your favorite influencers and calls are not going to be telling you this is the Bitcoin top, because they are going to be super bullish on their altcoins. Now, Crypto Mitch now gets his perspective around, flushes and corrections in the market. He says, don't get stressed out during potential harsh flushes or corrections on altcoins. No need. I to do that too. He says he used to do that too. Incorrect typo. But there's simply no point. If you do decrease your sizing, trading should be comfortable. And this kind of goes into, if you're worried about altcoin season, you're worried about the red in the market, it's mainly due to the fact that you're probably over allocated. You're playing with money that you shouldn't be playing with, so you're freaking out whenever you start to see your portfolio deviate. I've been, seeing deviations in the portfolio. I see the pumps in the portfolio. My portfolios look crazy in both directions. But I think that once you can start to separate from that, that's whenever you're going to be able to make those crazy gains, because you're not anticipating, a small move or this or that. You're waiting for the big mumbo jumbo, and you know that that takes some time. And currently we're on the verge of that. And that's why you shouldn't get stressed out whenever we see potential flushes and corrections. It's just something that's going to happen. Now, Benjamin Cohen goes into his perspective around Bitcoin and overall gold and what's going on in the crypto markets in general. And everyone's calling for Bitcoin all-time highs. And this kind of stems into the fact of what KillXBT was saying whenever, Bitcoin is topping out. And is it already going to be happening? This is really, really crazy. And I think a lot of people aren't anticipating this because so many people are euphoric. Why are they euphoric? Because they're ready for altcoin season. Everyone's been waiting so long that they don't care if Bitcoin honestly dumps, but they're anticipating, Ethereum to make that new all-time high. And whenever Bitcoin dumps, that's whenever liquidity is going to get shifted, and we're going to be seeing crazy valuations. This is something that's super important, but a lot of people are, again, just so caught up in a small lens and not really thinking about what's going to be happening. Now, overall, markets are going crazy. US GDP not looking too good. Multiple different variations around the US economy and risk assets. Just pouring into the fact that, the US is not looking too hot. Government shutdown has taken place. We have consistent, revisions to our labor market, and the overall inflation data is not looking too good either. So in the next few weeks, whenever we see rate cuts, I'm really curious on how that's going to have an effect on the market. I'm sure no one's even really thinking about it anymore because everyone just wants altcoin season to happen, but it is going to be having an effect on liquidity and volatility. Now, the markets are just trading sideways. As I said, on the 24-hour, we can see Bitcoin is down and we can see that Ethereum is down. But everyone is more likely going to be saying, what are you talking about? Everything is still up significantly. And that's true. But corrections still take place. And whenever you're not expecting corrections, that's whenever they happen. And then you get wrecked and then you start crying and then you don't know what's going on. So don't be one of those people that, gets wrecked because you're not paying attention. You got to follow the proper price action, the news events, and everything else that has an effect. And right now, everything's kind of just teeter-tottering, waiting to see if it's going to deviate or if it's going to pump. You can see my crypto portfolio is seeing some red. Yesterday, we were sitting quite green, and now we're seeing the corrections because a lot of people are anticipating that altcoin season was just going to happen, but it's not happening. It's pretty much not going to happen until Ethereum puts that new all-time high in, and right now, we're honestly testing specific zones. So that is currently what is taking place. Right now, there's a lot of, expectations on what's going to be happening next for Bitcoin and how it's looked in previous cycles. And this has, a lot of people still wondering what's happening next. altcoin season is on the cusp. A lot of people are waiting for that to happen. People are telling other individuals that, corrections are just something that happens whenever we start to see the upside around a few of these assets, and it's very, very true. But a lot of people get so caught up in a small lens, like how I just said multiple times, that they, get upset. They start talking crap. They capitulate their bags, and then from there you just see consistent up and down volume for multiple assets because people are buying the asset, they get scared, and they sell the asset. They buy the asset, they get scared, and they sell the asset, and over and over and over again. So do not be one of those people. Dollar cost average. Stay with your positions. Learn more about how liquidity shifts in the market. Learn more about the charts that I show you guys. And if you guys have any questions, drop them down below. I'd love to hear everyone's perspective, where they're at on their journey. I think it's super important to learn and pretty much just get multiple different perspectives around the market, not only from individuals that have been here for a decent amount of time, but also other individuals that have already, showcased exactly their expertise and show a little bit more of the ins and outs like the individuals I show you on this channel. So overall, stay tuned, guys. I'm going to be letting you know how volatility is going moving into the end of the week, if we see any changes in the government shutdown, and what you need to expect. But overall, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Stay tuned. Do not capitulate your bags. And yeah, hopefully I see you tomorrow. Peace.